Mark Shivers, founder and CEO of Ignite IPA. It's always a pleasure to sit down with you.
You too, Jeff. Thanks for inviting me.
You bet. Since we met almost 4 years ago, I've been struck by the passion that you bring to what you do, your creativity, and your powerful analytical skills, all of which are a great asset to our group. You also like to have fun while learning.
A little bit.
So let's begin at the beginning. Tell us about IPA, Ignite IPA, and its mission.
Yeah, so Ignite IPA, I guess, unbeknownst to many, is not a beer company. We are not the IPA beer. IPA in our name stands for Intelligent Process Automation. So Ignite IPA, we're a global consulting firm focused on the intelligent process automation in this new AI industry. What we do for clients is we go in and we dissect their company and create what we call a digital North Star. We help them digitally transform by creating a pipeline of opportunities to change both from a process perspective as well as opportunities that can lead towards automation. We try to look at, not so much just the purpose of automation, but the purpose in business for automation. Right? Most business users are looking for, let's say they want to scale their business, but they only have an option of throwing people at the problem right now. So if they double in size, what are they going to do? Well, they're just going to add more people, right? Let's just say they have flat revenue targets right now, and they need to reduce some expenses, right? Well, what are they going to do, right? There are only so many options out there. What we try to do is teach them that there are more options now in this new digital era. There are things called digital workers. There are things called digital assistants that they can now add to their workforce and help them scale at higher margins. Also, reduce complexity in their organization, as well as, simply providing more higher quality work in the organization.
I love the way in which you position business objectives first and foremost and all the way through. It's not just doing cool stuff, but achieving business objectives. Every time I've heard you present, you begin with that, which I love.
Yeah, you start with the end in mind. Otherwise, all you're going to get is expensive technology. What's the point, right? So
absolutely.
You start with the end in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind. I love that. From our very first conversations, I learned that something that's really important to you is the Ignite Life program. Tell me about that.
Yeah, actually, it's one of the proudest accomplishments, I think, in my career. So when I work for somebody else, when I work for companies, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what I wanted in a company that I created. I also learned a lot about what I didn't want. And I didn't want a company that just focused on the financials, that just focused on the business aspect of business. There's much more to business than just what you do, right? It's who you do it for, your customers, and then who you do it with, your employees, right? So Ignite Life is actually a program that I started, and it is a program where when we onboard a new resource, we ask them a bucket list question. It has nothing to do with their career. It's who they are as a person. So we try to understand who they are through their hopes and their dreams. And ultimately, we try to fulfill those dreams for high-performing individuals. So we have an Ignite Life Award at the end of the year, at the end of every year, where we award a high-performing individual, through fulfilling their bucket list dreams, right? So as they provide back to the company provides back to them. And the recent two award winners, one was Adam. Adam he was a lifelong Michigan's Wolverines fan. And when he won the award, it just so happened that the Wolverines were in the national championship. So we sent him to Vegas, he and his wife, for an all expenses paid trip. Another guy who won, his name was Raul. He was an Indian native, lived in a warm climate. His kid has never seen snow before. So his dream was to, see snow. So instead of just sending him a snowball, we sent him on a trip across Europe. He went to the mountain peaks in Switzerland and had a snowball fight with his kid. And then we sent him on a tour to Disneyland in Paris and then back home. So really cool experience for him and his kid. It was an experience he probably couldn't have afforded to do. And we were really proud to do that. And their one goal through the Ignite Life program is just take pictures so we could all live vicariously through them.
I love that. I imagine that has done wonders for your employee engagement. What a cool program.
Yeah, it's great. Employees are everything, right? Without employees, you really have no company.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of companies don't recognize that.
Yes, for sure. You recently received a nice award from the Hop Hog Industrial Association, which manages the Long Island Innovation Park, which is the largest innovation park in the Northeast. Until recently, I didn't know that HIA-LI, what it's known by, to locals, is home to 1,300 companies, 50,000 employees, and accounts for 8% of Long Island's gross domestic product. Didn't know all that. Tell me about Ignite's Rookie of the Year award.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big group. We got involved in that about 9 months ago, and I had not known about it either. And then by getting involved, actually this morning I was in their energy council meeting where they talked about, bringing, energy sustainability and self-sufficiency, across Long Island. Great organization that does a lot for the local businesses as well as the local community. And they awarded us an award called the Rookie of the Year. So what they do is they have a Shark Tank panel where they interview, applicants who, submit for a series of awards, or they volunteer submit you for them. We were actually put forward for this award by, one of the members. And the award is based on being innovative and creative. But it's not just innovative and creative for your business. It's innovative, creative across the business itself. So we won an award for our offering, which is generally the digital transformation and intelligent automation offering. And we described a whole bunch of case studies we've done in, a variety of industries like solar, like medical, and supporting, very similar to the explanation of the company, supporting their growth and their scale through automation. With high ROI returns. But then they also took a look not just at great businesses, but at what you do externally. So because of the Ignite Life program we just talked about, as well as because of our philanthropy program, which promotes employees' philanthropic hopes and dreams and associations. We also award employees grants to participate back into their philanthropic roles, because I think philanthropy is a big part of, the community, who you are as a company, and who you are.
Sure.
And because of that, creativity in business, creativity in employee engagement, and creativity and customer engagement, we won a great award called Rookie of the Year, where we presented in front of a panel of judges, post-award or pre-award. Post-award, we presented across an entire community of businesses like Jake's 58, People's United Bank, a variety of very large businesses on Long Island, as well as local and national politicians that were there. And for the award, great experience. And I think from Ignite's perspective, it's got great notoriety now to bring our message out to a broader audience across Long Island and abroad.
That's great. I really resonate with and appreciate your commitment to the community through philanthropy and the variety of things that you described. Local businesses, small business in particular, play such an important role in the community. And I just love the way that you lean into that and claim it as really essential to who Ignite is. Love that.
Appreciate that. Thanks. It's a lot about what you do, with the company's profits. And honestly, I feel like if you're not giving back to the employees, giving back to the community, like, what are you really doing in this world? Sure.
Yeah. So, Mark, you're a founding member of our Vistage CEO Peer Advisory Group. What led you to join Vistage?
I could be cheesy for a minute, and I think it's just the mantra of Vistage. It's lonely at the top, right? So when I work for others, everybody would give you advice, whether you want it or not. And when you own a company, the mantra of it's lonely at the top it rings true, right? I like to learn from others too. I'm not the CEO who thinks he knows everything. I'm actually the CEO who has a lot of imposter syndrome quite a bit, right? So I always think I don't know the answer, right, until I analyze it and totally understand all the facets, ask people for their advice. And when you're the CEO, sometimes people don't readily give you advice. They don't really share in, honest opinion and honest conversation. So Vistage gave me an opportunity to, talk to those with maybe similar experiences, through long careers as a CEO. And I think just the open nature of conversation and a community of people that have, either sharing similar problems right now, or, have solved some of these problems and are willing to give me advice and not just, let me go about my way. I like to be challenged. And this is a group that totally challenges, preconceived notions of how I would approach business, helps me validate some of the approaches to business I have. And some of them I'm just making up as I go. And then really becoming I call it my pseudo board.
Yeah.
They don't know they're my board members. they truly act as an advisory board.
Sure, sure. And you use that term a lot, and I love that too, that it's your own private board of directors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't, and they call me on my my BS.
Sure.
Love that. I love that.
So it's been a little over 3 years. What value have you received from your Vistage experience, Mark?
Obviously the advisory board concept, the advice I've gotten is a ton. One thing that truly stands out is that when I started Vistage, I wasn't, all in on it, right? And just admittedly so. I thought this was going to be a 3-month and out engagement for me, where I would just see what it felt like and leave, right? And I went into it with the wrong attitude. I think it's truly a you get out what you put in concept. And in month 3, instead of just listening and giving, feedback to others, I actually started processing an issue on my own. One of the issues I processed was that my work-life balance, because of all the travel I was doing in this new CEO role, was getting to me. It stressed my family out. It stressed me out a little bit. And I wasn't spending as much time with my kids. So I processed an issue and said, I'm struggling with my work-life balance. So many of the answers I got were classic answers around like, weigh what's important to you and weigh what's not important to you. It's the seesaw of work-life balance that constantly is in flux. And one of the members of Vistage in my community, actually came up to me and just said, hey, you're the CEO. Why don't you just, bring your kid on a conference visit? And I immediately struck, because of my reactive personality, that's a stupid idea. I went home that night. You and I have talked about this before, but I went home at night and I woke up the next morning and I woke up with this profound idea. And I said, why don't I just bring my kid to the conference? Now I knew where it came from, obviously, right?
Yes.
But I went back to this person and I said, thank you. Thank you. I didn't first recognize it. And secondly, I automatically dismissed it. But after stepping back and thinking about it, like, why don't I just bring my kid to the conferences? So since joining and since then, I've actually, I do about 26 speaking engagements a year. And I brought my kids to one conference a year. I have 3 boys, 13, 12, and 10. They're everything to me. So I brought them to a conference a year. And recently this year, I actually brought my wife to a conference. She worked the booth with me, really understands now what I do. So all 3 kids and my wife now understand what I do every day when I leave the house and I go on a business trip. They understand my business better. They understand kind of who I am. And we get to, not only experience that one opportunity, but now we actually talk about it at home. Now they understand it. And it's really been life-changing for me in my role here. And now I don't have to reduce, the amount of time I put into the travel, because I respect it and they respect it as well. And now we get to talk about it. So it's been life-changing. Yeah,
thank you for sharing that, Mark. And you have told that story, and I never get tired of hearing it. And there are 3 things that really stand out to me. One, at least one of your boys hit it out of the park on sales. He develops a new client relationship as a result of being at the conference. I love that. And the second thing is that you've shared the fact that the perspective that was offered was one that you never thought about and thought was a dumb idea. And that happens a lot, right? When we process issues, that's the value of outside perspectives. And not only was it a perspective that you hadn't considered, but it was from someone that you thought least likely would offer something of value. And that's another really cool thing about Vistage, is you get amazing value sometimes from the least expected places.
Absolutely. Yeah. We generally, this person and I generally have contrasting opinions on almost everything, but, unbeknownst to him, probably he's the one I listen to most, right?
Yeah. So as an aside, there was a terrific picture of you from our annual retreat a couple of years ago. Tell us about your takeaways. You've been on 3 Vistage retreats.
Yeah.
One of the few people who've been to all 3, I think.
I do like to have my fun, right? We mentioned that.
Yeah, you do like to have fun. What are your takeaways from those retreats? Some people maybe have never been on a leadership executive retreat.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of retreats because I think it takes you away from the business and it helps you think about not just business in the sense of my everyday day-to-day, but it helps you think about business from the outside a little bit. It helps you also, from a Vistage perspective, like, the retreats we do with my company, it's about the people in the company. In Vistage, it's about getting to know the people that you share business insights with, that you talk about your business to, that they share insights with you. It helps you understand who the person is. And I think, understanding who people are, right? That's what business is about, right?
Sure.
It's heavily involved in sales. It's heavily involved in customer service, the aspects of the business. But when you're actually, you have a board as well, you have to understand who they are, where they're coming from with their advice and their angles, and getting to know them personally, which was the first retreat, where it was just the members. The second retreat was, the members and the spouses, right? And significant others also gave you a different insight, right? And connected you a little bit more, right? So now that I know, someone's partner, a little bit better, I understand who they are, maybe at home, right? I understand where some of those values come from, some of the opinions come from. So it's healthy to get to know, your colleagues, your advisors, and those people that are around you, clients as well. I think in a personal setting, because, again, that's kind of what business is about. It's lonely to just do business. And it's really rewarding when you do business, talk about business with people you like, you care about, and you want to help.
Yeah, and those relationships are really precious. For me as the chair, to watch the evolution of the relationships between members is really cool. We've talked.
I heard next year maybe a big event with families too. I heard talks about. I don't know.
Let's get those perspectives out there. Someone mentioned Paris, Disney.
Yeah. Hey, it's recorded here now.
Yeah. So we've talked a good bit about the group experience. Talk a little bit about another dimension of the Vistage experience, which is the one-to-one, private executive coaching. What does that look like for you? What value do you get from that?
You know what? I think in the group setting, you have a lot of people that need to get their issues out, and that's the point of the group setting, right? You have to respect that everybody's trying to get something out of this group. The one-to-ones is that added value where there's more of a focus on you, where you could be a little more detailed about your issue, right? Your opportunity, and explain a little bit more about your business and why it's so much of an issue, right? And then there's more of a direct feedback or a direct two-way conversation. So I think that there's more of an understanding of the problem, right? And I'm a big problem solver. I think you need the details of the problem to really come with a solution that solves the problem, right? If you only know one symptom, you only have time to explain one symptom, well, the solution might only solve that one, but it might be bigger. So the one-to-ones allow me to get into the detail a little bit more. And I think, from, your perspective, you hear a lot about maybe problems I brought up in the group before, maybe some things that I'm talking specifically to you about. So you have more insights into my company, and the value of the experience you bring is great. I also want to mention not just the one-to-ones, but the Tiger teams you're creating as well.
Yes.
Is an important part of my experience, where I participated, and I've also been a recipient of that, where you bring in a bunch of people from the group or even outside in your other groups that might give more tactical insight because of their experience to those solutions. And I think you learn about how we would need different personalities, different people, different experiences in those one-to-ones. And maybe you aren't the one that has all the answers, but you're willing to pull people from your network in, to help us solve the problem. So that's another added benefit to the one-to-one that leads to a Tiger team.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because it's another way of leveraging perspectives in a much more focused, intensive manner. Okay. Mark, what's been the impact of Vistage on your leadership, both personally and professionally?
To be honest, I come in with the assumption that I don't know everything, and the more groups like Vistage I'm involved in, Vistage specifically has been, amazing for me, because I'm hearing how other people run their businesses, right? Mm-hmm. Businesses that have been, around for 30, 40, 50 years. I'm hearing from people who have just started their business. I'm hearing from, coffee shop owners to aerospace engineering businesses to insurance companies. There's such a wide breadth of industries that we are surrounded with. And I think problems that exist in one industry, are synonymous with problems and solutions in the other. So if I just sat in my own bubble and I looked at the intelligent process automation industry, right? I would only get so much out of it. But because I'm now exposed in Vistage to, other perspectives from different industries, and maybe one's more advanced in one versus another, I'm able to glean, solutions on how I would run my business, right? Or perspectives on how I would run my business, from the coffee shop owner who's dealing with, managing summer staff, right? Who has a very creative approach to, training very quickly and culture, versus the, family-owned business for 3 generations and what matters to them from a legacy perspective.
Yeah.
A lot of those lessons that I don't think I would be exposed to those lessons and change my view on business as we've gone even over a 4-year period. I think I wouldn't be exposed to those. Therefore, I also wouldn't apply them or even think through them. My business and the way I run it would probably stay stagnant without Vistage. But because of it, my philosophy has changed. My approach to leading has changed. And one of the most paramount things I believe that's changed is just what do I want to do with my business? Am I building a business to sell, or am I building a business to leave a legacy?
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Mark. 2 things come up for me as I listen to you. I've always appreciated your intense hunger for learning, for knowing, for getting those perspectives. And you're not afraid to pivot. You're not afraid to change your mind or your outlook. And that leads to what you just brought up. And I'm glad you brought it up. I'm curious to learn more about something that you've recently shared. You mentioned that as a consultant, and you talked about this earlier today, you're hardwired to help other businesses. And that was the mindset that you initially brought to the group you've shared. You were going to help everybody else. But you've talked about a shift in your mindset in that regard. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. I'm a change consultant, right? So I'd be the biggest hypocrite in the world if I wouldn't change myself, right? So it's change is hardwired in me and the advice I give to others, but I've also, if I'm going to be a good consultant to other businesses, I've got to learn from others and I've got to be accepting of change myself, right? Otherwise, I'm selling hypocrisy.
Right.
So I've always ingrained in myself that there is so much to do. There's so much change, there is so much, even if I'm offering the best solution, it could still be incrementally better. And I don't get better unless I learn from others, right? So I've always had that hunger to learn, because that's what I bring back to my clients. And then for me, I came into this group because I'm a change consultant. I came into this group thinking I can help them, right? So that was kind of my role for the first 2 years I think I was there, to be honest with you. And recently I stepped back a little bit and I started to listen to others and listen to different viewpoints. And that one specific viewpoint, right? Even in our group, there's a lot of legacy companies. There's a lot of companies that have been handed down from generation to generation. And at our last retreat, I listened to, a few people like Rebecca Weber, who owns the Weber Group, and Jason Stiano, and a few others who were talking about how great it was. Shane, who got the business, the lumberyard from his father, how important it was for them as children to watch their parents grow the business and how important it is to maintain that legacy. And by listening and being open, to maybe a concept that was foreign to me, right? Because I created my own business. I started it from scratch. I built it from the ground up. But now I'm seeing the other side of someone who's done that and handed it down, to these children who are now my peers, and how important that is. By listening a little bit and opening my mind, I've kind of realized that maybe that's important to me too, right? Maybe building something that has a legacy to it, is important to me as well. And, there's a lot of other examples like that out there that I've taken away, but I wouldn't get them unless I'm listening and I'm open. So instead of just giving advice, right, I'm also taking a lot away from listening now, right? And I have to put myself in that mindset, and listen to problems that I might have through, just concepts and conversations that are being discussed in the group. And it's, it's been invaluable to me.
Yeah. What's really exciting as I listen to you is that story is still being written. You're writing that story in real time. Last question, Mark. You're on a journey to become a Vistage speaker, which is really exciting. Tell me what you're enjoying about that and what you're learning.
Well, I mean, first of all, being a speaker was never in my vocabulary. I'm an extrovert on TV, definitely an introvert as a personality, right? When I started speaking, you know, I was just like everybody else. I was scared, I was nervous, I would sweat before I got on stage. You know, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. I've done about 26 presentations on AI and intelligent automation over the past year, you know, more over the past 4 years. And, you know, practice makes perfect, right? So for all those out there that are afraid of public speaking, you know, it gets easier. You just got to push through it. And now I'm at a point where I'm doing so many speaking engagements that Vistage, you know, has talked to me about becoming a speaker, not only at the executive summits, for which we've done about, I think, 18 of them, but also going to groups across the nation and actually speaking about topics like digital transformation and how do I get started in my digital journey? Or, you know, I'm hearing all about AI, but you know, how is it going to attack my industry, and what can I do to get started? You know, or I've got a couple things I want to get done, but the world of AI is so confusing. You know, how do I know which vendors or what approaches to use, right? So those are three of the topics that we're going to be covering, but it's going to be in more of a personalized setting, more of a workshop setting, and you know, with some cool takeaways, you know, some cool surveys that people could use to enhance themselves, you know. And to be honest, I'm really excited. I'm excited because I've hit a milestone in my ability to speak publicly. I've hit a milestone in my, you know, comfortability in my trade enough to, you know, share it with others through exercises. And I'm really excited to go from the, you know, 100-person audience where it's a generic presentation to more focused and being able to interact and ask questions more, right? That's kind of what I do for a living, is I understand people's problems, kind of like a corporate psychologist, and I help them understand, you know, how to solve them. But now, instead of a big presentation, I can do it at a smaller scale, you know, 15 to 20 people, you know, who have problems, and they're willing to ask those openly to me as a speaker, you know, in a workshop across the nation. So I'm really excited for that.
And you're having fun. It's clear you're having fun.
I never thought I'd have fun in public speaking, and it gets me excited as opposed to draining me now. So that's a great thing.
Yes. Mark Shivers, founder and CEO of Ignite IPA, Intelligent Process Automation, an exciting and evolving leadership journey. Mark, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.